Good morning, evening, afternoon, whenever you're watching this. Welcome to the best podcast on the Curtis Podcast Network, the Third and Teal podcast with, as always, Trevor and Eric. Trevor, how you doing?
Doing well, man. We're doing well.
Okay, Eric. Eric, what about you?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Hey, I'm getting my workout in for that 40-yard dash I done promised. So I
There
done
you go.
started training for
Okay.
it.
I need to start getting back in the gym now that I'm done traveling for a little bit besides this coming week. But no, I'm excited for that. I'll try and get out there in the scorching heat and get somebody to take a video of me or something. We'll see. With that being said, like and subscribe if you keep on coming back. Thank you. If not, fuck you. We are in Third and Teal in the Curtis Podcast Network. We do have also the Real Texas team. We've got the Tiny Titans takeaways, and we've got Unstable to trademark me. Not really, but I still take credit. Anyways, so something we keep on skipping. The additions in free agency, the couple of extra additions we had: Ty Summers, Terrell Edmonds, and Trey Flowers. That was the third one. I like the pickups. I like Terrell Edmonds. He's kind of a guy that's not been amazing throughout his career, but he came in with high hopes and expectations. He's played pretty solid, pretty decent. At this point, I think he could be a very high value backup. Ty Summers, he was actually on Jacksonville. We let him go. He's had some reps. He's a decent backup as well, special teamer. Trey Flowers, I don't really know too much about Trey Flowers. I never use him in Madden because he's kind of slow, at least as far as I remember. But he's a big body. I think he's like 6'3", 200 or something like that. He's a big dude. How are we feeling about him, boys?
I feel like I could generalize all of them in one word, and that's depth. I think that's the best way I could put it. I'm always happy to see depth. We've been talking about how for years it's been one of our problems. We don't have any good depth. We've had okay depth, but we have now some good depth. And a couple of these guys, I think it'll touch on the hiring of Ryan Nielsen and the type of coordinator he is. I feel like if anybody can bring the best out of a couple of these guys, it's going to be him. So that being said, I think this plays to all of our strengths. Weren't super expensive to get them here, obviously. We bring them in pretty cheap stuff. Not going to hurt the wallet. Definitely can't hurt us 53-man wise, because at the worst case scenario, even if they don't make the team in the end, which I have no doubt they will, but at least a couple of them, Flowers and Edmonds. I do believe Flowers and Edmonds for sure will probably make the 53 somewhere. Where at, I'm not sure, but we already had that debate. I think worst case scenario, they just came in to bring competition and show the people that we have here. We mean business. We want physicality. We want people that are here to play and want to make a difference in Duval. So I feel like it's a win-win. There's no way we lose here.
I agree. It's definitely a win-win. But with Trey Flowers, he played with Nielsen in Atlanta last year and started some games for him. So that's a big plus. He can come in and I guess help teach the system more or less to some of the backs that may be having a problem. And so, yeah. And Ty Summers, man, I remember watching that kid in TCU. He's a beast. I think he'll be he'll fight for a special team spot because he's just that rough. And with the new kickoff rules, we need all them beasts we can up there. So yeah. And the other, who was it? Terrell Edmonds. Yeah, good depth piece. I see the cornerback room shaping up real well. As Trevor said, that's giving us some good depth that we definitely need or need it. So we'll have to see what goes on in training camp. But yeah, I'm happy with those pickups. If nothing from a leadership standpoint of view.
Yeah, and I think.
I'm sorry, but what Trey Flowers like a high draft pick or something? Because I think one of those two got defensive backs were a high draft pick.
Pretty sure Terrell Edmonds was
Edmonds was one for the Titans, right?
Was it the Titans?
Edmonds
or Pittsburgh.
He played for the Titans last year. He came into the league, I think, with either not the Bills. Pretty sure it was the Steelers, and he was like a first round pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
Let me see. I
So
thought I saw something. I'm sorry. I'm looking for something. So y'all are good, but
no, that's good. No, but what I'm saying is, if he was that high of a draft pick and he played for Pittsburgh, okay, that's not saying much, but I think there's some talent there that they may feel they can develop and get out of him. Not to mention the experience,
Right.
95 games, 79 starts. So yeah, there's some experience there, which is
Oh, he's got
something we
experience.
badly miss. Yeah. So I'm liking that. I really am.
I agree with you. I think it, like I said, I think it speaks to why we hired Ryan Nielsen.
Mm-hmm.
The same reason why we brought in Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson was a perfect fit for Duval because of Trevor Lawrence and Trevor Lawrence alone. Doug Peterson is a freaking quarterback whisperer, okay? And or at least is known to be one. So Doug Peterson being the quarterback whisperer, that's why he was a perfect fit here. Ryan Nielsen, defensive whisperer. I can't say any specific position over the other, in my opinion. Some people would say he speaks more to D lines and front seven usually because he preaches that physicality. But I mean, if you watch his overall play, everybody on a Ryan Nielsen defense is moving. Everybody on a Ryan Nielsen defense is physical. Okay. That being said, I think he's another perfect fit for Duval as of right now. We'll see how it transitions on the field, but he's one of the perfect fits because of people just like Terrell Edmonds. High draft pick obviously didn't shake out like they expected him to for whatever reason that may be. I'm not a Steelers fan, and I'm damn sure not a Titans fan, so I wasn't really watching that closely. I'll be honest with you, okay?
Exactly.
But I'll tell you this: clearly, he didn't work out too well. But that being said, he's got a good bit of starts under his belt, so he can't be the worst player ever. He's got to be mediocre or at that threshold that you guys hate when I compare people to, but that okay threshold. He's got to be that guy that's just good enough to touch the field, but not enough to change the game. But that being said, if anybody can bring it out, I feel confident Ryan Nielsen could probably be the guy to do it. So I still like him being here. I mean, at this point, I feel like you can almost honestly bring anyone with it could be the slightest margin of upside. I'm still going to feel positive about the acquisition or the pickup simply because I'm confident in what Ryan Nielsen can do to a defense and what he can do with personnel. I mean, Atlanta had no business having one of the top defenses in the league. Okay, I mean, they have some studs, but like overall, I mean, like they had no business being that good. Okay, like when we played them in London, they were, if I'm not mistaken, they were the top defense at that specific time.
Yeah.
We played them; they were the top of the league in defense. Like injuries and fatigue obviously wore them out because they do have a couple old heads. Shout out Calais Campbell. They only dropped off due to injuries and fatigue, I think, but it wasn't the scheme, and they still had a solid defense at the end. So I'm confident in what Ryan Nielsen can do for any defense. So I can't really hate on any defensive pickup as long as it's not like some guy that we're bringing in off of like 2 double ACL surgeries and a Trent Baalke classic. Like as long as it's not that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, one of the things about these guys, and like Eric had said, is Terrell Edmonds. I mean, they were all drafted relatively high. Ty Summers was not, of course. He was a UDFA for Jacksonville, but I'm pretty sure Trey Flowers was a top 3 round pick, if I'm not mistaken. I know that Terrell Edmonds was either a late first, early second, something along those lines. But like Eric said, he has a lot of experience. He's played a lot of games. He's very physical. I mean, he's a fast runner. He's not going to start, but I mean, I hate to say it, love Dewey, but I think I would prefer to have Terrell Edmonds running around back there than Dewey. I think Dewey is a smart player, and I think he's solid on special teams and in the run game, but I think that Terrell Edmonds is just a better overall athlete and prospect. But of course, Dewey has earned his spot on this roster. He's continued to show that he belongs. So we'll have to see kind of what happens with him and how he continues to play and how he can compete and make himself relevant against Terrell Edmonds. I mean, it's tough to say. I don't think that Ty Summers is coming in to like push anybody off the roster, but he does have that Ryan Nielsen connection. He has played in that defense. That definitely helps. Along with the fact that with our new defense, I mean, there's a lot of open spots in terms of linebacker is very unsure right now. We really don't have a lot of, we don't have a lot of pure linebackers. I mean, we've got Lloyd, Aluakan, we've got, Muma, we've got Ventrell Miller, but he's at this point in his career, I mean, can he stay healthy? He had a lot of issues at Florida with his injuries. I think he could be a really solid player if he can stay healthy. But Summers kind of pushes that spot. If he can show some special teams prowess, I think he'll be able to stick around. Out of the three, I think if anybody doesn't make the roster, I think it is going to be Ty Summers. I think Edmonds is too valuable at safety with his experience, where we've got guys like, we've got DT and Wingard backing him up back there. I mean, I don't see Terrell Edmonds losing the job to either of those guys. We didn't re-sign DT to a big contract, so I mean he's expendable at this point. Trey Flowers, we just don't have a lot of depth in our cornerback room. I could see him getting reps throughout the season. Jarian Jones has been playing really good so far, so that's a good sign. DeAndre Prince has looked pretty good in camp. Apparently Devin Lloyd just looks massive. Apparently he is.
That's what I've heard.
I keep seeing it everywhere, dude. Like he was in like loose sleeves filling them out. Like he looks big. A lot of these guys that we want to break out are looking like they could be poised to break out. I've even heard some stuff that Tyson Campbell looks a little bit bigger. I mean, it's kind of gonna be. I don't know. It's gonna be a battle of who can fight harder. It's going to be an interesting offseason for players trying to find some depth and trying to stay on the team because there are some new guys coming in like these guys that could push some people off. Apparently, Miles Cole is working, by the way, with the edges. I did see some videos of him with Trayvon and those guys. We've got a couple of I can't remember his first name. It's something Parker Jr. linebacker. Apparently he looks pretty solid and explosive in camp. He could be pushing for like a week or for not a week, a Will or a Sam position. I think Mike's pretty much locked up at this point. I mean, we've got Aluakan, Lloyd can play there. Muma will probably be training there, or Muma will train at weak side. I don't really know yet how they're going to handle Muma. He might be a little bit more of a gadget player than what he's been recently. And I think he can play well in that role. He used to be a safety before he got converted to linebacker. That's why he's an undersized guy. But I don't know. These new guys bring in a lot of questions for some guys who are already on the roster, especially considering our linebacker depth is very sketchy. I mean, with that being said, kind of something I've been seeing people talking about and kind of want y'all's opinion on. What is our most improved group and what group position group? And what do you think is still our weakness position group as of right now?
We're talking about whole team, or are we talking about offense, defense?
Whole team. What do you think is the most improved group for the whole team? What do you think is still our weakest group?
For mine, go ahead, Trevor.
Is it offensive line still?
Yeah, it's still got to be offensive line. I'm not saying that they didn't improve, but it's still got to be offensive line for me. Like we were so bad, it felt like we needed just like some headline splash to really not be bad. I feel like even with Mitch Morse, we got better. It's just yet to be told. I think they're still our weak link. Biggest improvement for me. Man, it's either DB or wide receiver. I think we went out and did what we needed to do this off season. I really don't think I could split between the two because I feel like they both made even strides in improvement because we didn't go out and get any certified number ones. Okay. Mm-hmm. We've got a guy in Brian Thomas Jr. that we're almost positive will be, but not certified. No, we can't know yet. We didn't get anyone that's a certified number one in DB. We've got guys that we think can be. Like I personally feel like Jarian Jones is very capable of taking that from Tyson Campbell. I think he's very capable. Tyson Campbell's playing on his 5th year. If he has another mediocre year like he had last year, that CB1 is Jarrian Jones.
I agree.
I think DeAndre Prince, or however you say that, I think Prince is the equivalent pickup wise to a Gabe Davis, like in impact wise, not experience wise per se, but like for the needs that were filled on corner by his presence to the needs that were filled in wide receiver by Gabe's presence. I think they were an equal pickup there. They weren't anything that was going to like blow the news station up, but they were something that people were going to notice and talk about.
Are you referring to Darby or Prince?
Prince.
Okay. I was just making sure.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about Prince. Now, Darby is also the same way. I mean, I was just about to say, though, that takes me into the next segue. I mean, Darby, same way. Same way. Now that we know what our plan is for Savage, also same way. I just think, for me, the only reason wide receiver is a conversation in comparison to cornerback as far as improvement goes is because of just how crucial the wide receiver room needed it. Our DBs weren't the best, but they weren't the sole reason we got our asses blown out either. Our lack of offensive production had a lot to do with that in very, very many situations. That being said, I think wide receiver was a huge thing for us. We had to get someone that's a weapon. We needed a weapon, no ifs, ands, or buts. What I feel like we got was someone we're almost positive is a weapon, someone we know that has every now and then the potential to be a weapon, but that's not what we needed. So I feel like I can't say for sure between the two of them, but if you're looking at just straight number for number, cornerbacks improved the most. Our DB room improved the most, number for number for me. Because as far as I'm concerned, BTJ is equal to Calvin Ridley at this point. We both know the route runner's tall, strong, fast. Now, how he's going to translate his game, that's yet to be seen, and that's why I can't say that they're the best improvement group as of right now. Now, midway through the season, if you ask me, I'm sure I have all faith that it could very easily be wide receivers, and it's not even close. And that all just depends on how well the chemistry comes down to and what Brian Thomas Jr. is able to put into play on the field. That'll really make the difference. Because if our DBs come out there and play like we know these veteran players can play, it'll be like, we kind of knew that was coming. You know, it's what we expected. That's why we went and got them. Yes, it's an improvement, but I think it's also hard to say too, though, that our interior D-line is not also the biggest improvement. I think like if you're talking about group for group, defense, offense, defense improved the most. If we're talking about individual, like one room, it's between DB and corner or DB and a receiver for me, mainly because that's just what we needed the most. But I guess number for number, it goes corner. If you're looking at biggest impact players, it's going to be the interior D-line. Those guys are going to make the most noise, I think, out of all of our most recent shakeups. Just because Eric Armstead is just too talented to not have those rookies come in and follow in his footsteps. He's too talented. He's too vocal of a leader. Josh Allen is coming into his leadership role now. Trayvon Walker's been poised for that massive breakout, which he stepped mostly into last year, and I have no reason to believe that he won't do it again this year. I know that our linebacker course is shaky at depth, but the guys that we know will be starting on the field are playmaker guys, and we know that paired with that front line, it's going to be a hellacious time to get through that front seven. So I guess in summary, what I'm saying is I don't think I can put a definitive one spot that improved the most. I'd say our whole team improved the most, but I can definitely tell you our offensive line is still, in my opinion, our weakest link.
Okay. Eric, what do you think?
Why am I going to say anything when Trevor just covered it all? I mean, really? Okay. All right. I have to agree with Trevor. Offensive line, yes, we got Mitch Morse, but you still bringing back the core of that offensive line from last year. Now, the reports are that, because of injuries and so forth and so on, and of course we know our play center we had last year, that's the biggest problem, and if they can stay healthy this year, everything's going to be all right with the guys we already got. No, it just the offensive line just gives you a shaky feeling. It just really does. Like, okay, we're hoping what they're saying is true, and they play like we know they can. But then you be like, but this was the same group last year that just couldn't get it together. So is one player on the offensive line going to make that much of a difference? I guess we'll wait and see for sure. Now, as far as my on defense, I have to go with the interior line. I'm loving that. We got some big, nasty uglies up in there now. And if Devon comes back, Hamilton comes back like we know he can, then, oh, yeah, not only do we have the starters, we got a good amount of depth to go with it. So the rotation there won't be such a fall off of effort, which if they do, like I'm hoping and know they can do, the defense, the DBs won't have to work so hard because the quarterback is not going to have time to do anything. All right. The linebackers aren't going to work so hard because they're closing the holes to where the backs can't come through. So that's why I'm picking the defensive front because I love the picks we got. And with the relationship to coaches on the staff already, that just gives me another good feeling because that's telling me he knows how to motivate them to get the best out of them. So yes, and Miles, well, the guy, what's the guy's name? The edge, Miles Miles Cole. I think that guy gonna be better than most people think. I really do. Because I watched some of his tape when he was in at Texas Tech. I'm like, okay, I can see this.
He's a big dude.
Yeah, so yeah, that would be mine. Now, as far as Trevor, as far as the group that improved the most, I want to say wide receiver, but y'all know how I feel about it. In Doug Peterson's offense, you don't need a number one per se. You just need dependable wide receivers that's going to catch the ball and a good tight end.
Yep.
That's basically what you need for a Doug Peterson offense. So then I go on the other side of the ball. Cornerbacks, yeah, I like the way the cornerbacks are coming. And with this coaching staff, of course, we're going to talk about it later. It's something that a lot of them say during the press conferences we're seeing now. And, we'll get into that a little bit. But, yeah, that's how I see it anyway. For an old guy that's been around for a while.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I'm going to say offensive line is still the worst group. I think it is going to help that we've got some guys back like Tugboat. Still pulling for Tugboat. Still hoping he can come around. We'll see. Local kid. Love me some Cooper Hodges. I feel like if, and I can say this all I want because it's a hypothetical and I can say whatever the fuck I want. I think if he wouldn't have got hurt last year, he probably would have stepped into the left guard position, and we probably would not have traded for Ezra Cleveland. That is my opinion. I think he played really well in the preseason. He would at least gotten the chance. I like Cooper Hodges a lot, and I think that he's going to stay healthy and give us some depth there, make it to where we can potentially have, if Sheriff gets hurt, we're not going to have to force him to play, something like that. I think that, I do think that they're still the worst group on the team, but I mean, adding Javon Foster into that room is definitely going to help out. We made some additions, we did some stuff, but it's still the same core that was not great last year. Hopefully, like Trevor and like you said, Eric, I mean, it was just injuries. Hopefully, that was what it is, and we work it out. But we are going to see. Most improved group for me would have to be the defensive line. I think with us moving into the 4-3 and also the fact that we got Eric Armstead, as much as I want to say wide receiver or cornerback / DB, there was no bigger impact player that we signed this offseason besides Eric Armstead. The biggest thing about that is, Mitch Morris is good. Gabe Davis is good. We can hope Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be an upgrade or is going to be good compared to Calvin Ridley. We can hope that Jarian Jones can move into that role and be a number one. We can hope that Ronald Darby can stay healthy the entire season and he can play. We've seen Eric Armstead count like multiple times be a top 10 tackle / interior offensive lineman in the league. I think that people are going to continue to shit on and underrate the pick of Mason Smith. I think the Mason Smith is going to be a much better pick than anybody thinks he's going to be. And behind Eric Armstead, a very similarly built guy, that's going to help out a lot. Jordan Jefferson's also going to get a bunch of reps behind Devon Hamilton and fluctuating into that role. I mean, we re-signed him, but like we're not going to have to watch guys like Jeremiah Ledbetter come in and be our main D tackle. As much as I love Jeremiah Ledbetter, he did what he needed to do for us, and he helped out when he could, but he's not the guy. Angelo Blackson, bro, was nasty. That's what I liked about Blackson was he was nasty. He had that nasty that none of our other defensive line had besides maybe Trayvon. But I don't want him being our second option whenever I just Ledbetter than that Blackson and moving Gotsis inside and hoping Smoot can take reps at DT. I mean, we don't have to do that anymore. We got some big dudes in there. We got some beef. I think it's the most improved position in my opinion because we got the guys that we hope and we think could be really good, but we also got the guy that we know for a fact amongst all the other DTs in the league is really good. And that's what we've been missing. I think that's going to be the biggest improvement and biggest thing we're going to notice this year is with this Ryan Nielsen defense and with the addition of Eric Armstead with the guys we already have and the new guys we have coming in. Realistically, if Jordan Jefferson and Mason Smith are half as good as we think they could be, that's a lot of rotation we can do on the interior defensive line. We're not going to have to play Devon Hamilton for 4 downs. We're not going to have to play Eric Armstead for 4 downs. We're not going to have to play these guys. We can rotate them. We can move them. You put in your lightning package. You got Mason Smith, Eric Armstead, Trayvon Walker, Josh Allen coming in there. You put in different package. You don't have to sacrifice size to get a good rush in on the quarterback anymore. And that's something I like is that Mason Smith is pretty athletic. He tore his ACL, but he's a guy that is coming back and he's 100% again. And he was a All-American his freshman year with how he was playing. But I mean, dude was crazy. So that's going to have to be my group. I definitely think that wide receiver and corner are much improved. I just think that, the defensive line is the group that got a bona fide badass in the league, a bona fide top 10 player at a position. And also they got the draftees that they think have a lot of potential. And also too, the Mason Smith pick, hearing guys like Andy Reid and, some other guys saying good pick and that they like him and he's a big dude. I mean, that's a really big thing. I mean, Andy Reid is probably one of the most trusted evaluators of football talent in the world right now amongst living people who are currently coaching.
As he should be.
Yeah, he's getting these guys coming in, and it could be all the GM, but I highly doubt it. He's got these guys working for him. He's teaching these guys. They bring in guys that nobody thinks of, and then they turn out to be superstars. Like Tyreek Hill, I never really heard of him in college. And then he comes to the NFL and blows it up. Patrick Mahomes, nobody had him listed that high. And then they come in there and take him, kid out of Texas Tech who, just bombed on bad defenses. And he's one of the best quarterbacks to ever play football. You got guys like Rashee Rice, guys like Isaiah Pacheco. They only seem to miss on some of their high picks. Like all their mid to late round picks are always really beneficial to the team. Guys like Karlaftis, who they get late in rounds, it's a good sign. I think Mason Smith's gonna be a lot better than people give on. I think Jordan Jefferson's gonna help us out a lot this year, especially being able to rotate in and out with Devon Hamilton, who is back, and I hope he stays that way because 2022, Devon Hamilton was badass. I don't care what anybody says. He was pushing pockets, he was pushing lines, he was keeping gaps, he was destroying guards and centers. That's it for me on that.
You just explained, by the way, my whole argument about the Walker Little thing. You literally just, in a roundabout way, said the same thing I did, that good enough doesn't cut it. We're getting bona fide badasses. We're going to be a championship contender team. That's what we got to have. You basically just explained it that
I know what you're trying to say, and it's not true. Because it's not true, okay? Because your argument was, he sucks. Let's just completely replace.
I didn't say he
sucks.
That. I didn't say he sucks.
You said he's just good enough.
He is just good enough.
Okay. Again, we're talking about guys who are 30 years old, Ledbetter, Blackson, versus a guy who's 25, and anytime he started at left tackle, he's been one of the best left tackles in the league for us, besides 2 plays when he got pushed back on Trevor.
Hey, those 2 plays made a hell of a difference, didn't they?
But you can't really blame him. Yeah. Oh yeah, he does have a point. But also too, you can't really blame him for bad play calling too, though.
I don't blame him for that. Hold on. That's why I said
no,
if I thought it was all him, I'd say he's a bad player. I don't think he's a bad player. I don't think that he's a fit for our scheme. What we do, I don't think it maximizes his potential. In our scheme and what we do, he's just good enough. Like, he's just good enough. He doesn't get bullied by everyone. But when it really matters and when it really counts, ergo Exhibit A, those two plays that really made a massive impact on the rest of our season and the trajectory of where we went with it, that's really what I'm talking about. And what I meant by, I understand what you mean by like the 30 to 25 difference. That is a huge difference. But like, we're still talking about, regardless of age, we're talking about we got a bona fide badass in the middle of that line that is a top 10 player consistently year in and year out. You look around at teams around the league, the Chiefs, for example, they are back-to-back Super Bowl champions. They are looking to three-peat. You are hard-pressed to find a glaring weak spot other than wide receivers, which we share that one too. Jawan Taylor's a sack of shit. Yeah, but hey. But you know what, though? You know what I will say, though? Jawan Taylor and all of his faults, mainly getting called for penalties. That's his biggest fault. Okay? He really does stand up a lot of linemen. He does not get eaten up too bad unless it's Trayvon Walker. Trayvon Walker fries his ass, and he fries his ass bad.
You're also talking about a guy who jumps early on every play and never gets called.
I just said that's his biggest problem.
No, I know. No. But I'm saying that's one of the reasons he stands people up, though, sometimes, because he's
got the jump on him. Yeah.
Whenever he doesn't get, but hold on. Do you trust a guy like Tony Baselli when they evaluate a player, especially at the left tackle position?
That's hard pressed for me.
As a Hall of Fame left tackle.
That's hard for me to say, and it's not that I don't trust Tony Baselli's opinion. It's Tony Baselli didn't play in a scheme like we have now. Tony Baselli's not evaluating from a position that we're in now. Tony Baselli's just evaluating from I've been there, I've been him, I see greatness in him. Okay? And that's what I agree with that. He's got all the tools in the toolbox to be fucking fantastic. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I've never thought he's a bad player. I've never once said he is a bad player. I think it's one of those things like we've talked about a million times where it's just not for us. He's one of those guys, I feel like if he went somewhere else, he's going to be a top 10 fucking tackle in the league, and it's not even going to be close. It's just the problem is the way we run, the things we do, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to best suit him and his needs. Now, he's still good. Still good. I do not think he's bad.
That's where I disagree, because if he has all the tools, all he needs is reps. And we're talking about a guy that comes in at the end of the season that gets flip-flop between left and right tackle constantly and has had 3 different schemes since he's been here, or 2 different schemes. And then, if he has all the tools and we're keeping, Cam Robinson, we can sit here and say that Cam Robinson, he only lets up 2 sacks or whatever it is. That's because Trevor's running for his fucking life back there. It has nothing to do with Cam Robinson being good.
Personally, I think Cam Robinson's sorry.
And that's what I'm saying is I think with reps, Walker Little could have been really good. But I don't think it's anything to do with our schemes. He's a very athletic guy. He's got a lot of bend. He's a tall guy. He's big. He's got heavy hands. Only his issue is, and with any player, especially on the O-line, if you're constantly getting moved between left and right tackle, left and right tackle, left and right tackle, left and right tackle, and then this guy gets hurt, then you got to jump in here right tackle, then this guy gets hurt, then you got to go back over to left tackle. I don't think that it's as much on him necessarily. I think, of course, those plays when you get beat straight up, that's one thing. But
that's more what I'm talking about.
His steps, his plays, everything, like he's getting flip-flopped so much and he's changing schemes. If he's got all the tools, but you don't give him the reps, and that's what we was also talking about before, is that we don't give these guys their time of day. We re-signed Cam Robinson to this huge deal whenever Cam Robinson didn't deserve that money, but we were desperate. Then we get Walker Little, and we had an opportunity last year to either offload Cam or trade him or do whatever and let Walker Little take the helm. And I don't think they were comfortable with Walker Little doing that because they've been moving him so much. And when they've seen it, but when he's been on the field, when he started those 4 or 5 games, was it?
He was solid.
4?
Very solid. Yeah.
He was top 10. He was a top 10 tackle in the league and pressures allowed, everything like that. But then, you move him into guard, he gets hurt. Then you move him back out to tackle. He's hurt playing out at tackle. I just think that I don't think we've given Walker Little a fair shake. I think now it's too late to give him a fair shake.
That's my
At this
point.
point,
Exactly
you've drafted with Javon Taylor. I don't think it has anything to do with Walker Little or him not being able to play the position at a high level. I think it has everything to do with our coaching staff, Cam Robinson being there, and the amount of money we're paying Cam Robinson. And now we've got Javon Foster, who is a little more physical. I don't think he's as good as a pass defender, or I guess technically be a pass defender. Anyways, like an offensive lineman, pass blocker. But he's definitely a nastier, better run blocker. And I think he might even be a nastier, better run blocker than Cam Robinson, in my opinion.
I know.
But I think that it's just I think we paid Cam Robinson too much, and we couldn't afford to start Walker Little. And I don't think anybody would trade for Cam. Or I think if somebody would have traded for Cam, I'm pretty sure we would have gotten rid of him. But I don't think anybody's willing to give up what we want for him. But we're beating a dead Walker Little horse at this point. And
I just want to say you're absolutely right. But you just made my point entirely, because it's not on Walker Little. I don't think it's Walker Little. I think it's the way we used him and what we've done to him already. I think that's my point. When I mean by we brought in a bona fide badass where this guy doesn't need the reps, doesn't matter where you move him. This guy's going to fucking dominate and destroy a game. Okay. Now, primarily you leave him the fuck where he's at because he's one of the best in the league where he's at. Which I think we should have done that with Walker Little. But that was my point when I said here, he's not going to be that guy. He's not going to be that guy here. And for all the reasons you just listed, all are very good points and all are very good reasons are exactly why I say what I say. It's not so much that I think Walker Little doesn't have the potential to be one of the best guys in the league. He does. He's shown us that. And for some reason, we threw him to the fucking side. The same thing we did to Tank Bigsby. We saw him flash. He had a couple fumble problems, and then the rest of the season he's sidelined. It really comes down to what we've talked about before, where we just have a bad habit of not giving guys a fair shake and a fair shot at things. And that's what it comes down to for me with Walker Little. Not that Walker Little's not good. Just, again, if we're going to be a championship contender, we don't got time for the experiments. If we're going to do it, we need to commit to it. We need to fucking do it. We've already ruined that with Cam Robinson. And it's already been shown that he has to play off his back foot all the time because we keep fucking moving him. In my opinion, we've already blown past the time of redemption there. It's time to get that. We just got to, in my opinion, we got to get guys we know are badasses. That's what we've got to do. We don't have the time anymore. We're not a championship team is basically what I'm saying. We don't have the luxury of developing these guys that might be all the time. Every team's going to have to develop people. I'm not saying don't develop anyone, get all starters now. I'm just saying we can't be like Andy Reid, where we take a guy and if he doesn't pan out the first season, it's okay. We need people in almost every position that are ready to change the game now. We don't have very many, period, that can do that. And that's basically my overall point where I say good enough doesn't cut it anymore. We've seen what good enough does, 9-8 back to back. That's what good enough does. I mean, if we really want to get over the hump, we want to be the team to beat. We want to be that team and earn the respect we know we can garner and we deserve. We need the top 10 badasses. We need the guys we are sure of. And that's where my point of good enough doesn't cut it. That's where a Javon Foster pick makes sense for us if we were already those guys. But again, he still has plenty of upside. I'm not saying he's a bad pick. I still like the pick. That's my whole point in circle with Walker Little is if we were going to do it with Walker Little, we should have done it then. We've blown it now. It's too late. It's like you said, it's too late. We've already fucked it up. Okay, we fucked that up. We screwed the pooch big time. Never was it about the fact I don't think Walker Little's a capable or competent player. He is very capable, very competent, very well-rounded, and a very smart player. But at this point, we've already fucked it up. Biggest thing you said that I completely agree with, Cam Robinson is almost borderline ass. Almost.
He's a bum.
He is a straight fucking bum. He's an oxygen thief. And damn it, he's a fucking cap sucker. I swear. Dude is useless. The best thing about Cam Robinson is his locker room presence. I will say that. That has been noted multiple times by coaches, players, team. Everybody likes having Cam there. I don't like having Cam play. Let him sit there. I don't give a damn. Just Stop putting him in. Like, it should have been Walker. But it's
Yeah,
like,
make him an assistant coach at that point. You know, he's that one high school coach every high school has that like is an assistant coach, is not important, but just hypes everybody up.
Exactly. And that all is to circle around to say, you made the point, though, with we finally got a bona fide top 10. That's why we think of, you know, that front seven so fucking fearlessly, is because, or that D line just alone. That D line is so badass because we have those bona fide badasses. Our offensive line is still our weak point. So if our offensive line is still our weak point, I would venture as far as to say that anyone on our line other than Ton and Mitch Morse and Ezra Cleveland should all be fighting for their spots, period. Not because they're not good. It's not because they're not good. It's just simply because good enough doesn't cut it. And we've seen that 2 years in a row now. And that's where I'm going with that, is you can be good, but good enough's not enough. You're not going to be a Super Bowl champion by just being good enough, whether it's your fault or whether it's your coaching staff and franchise's fault. It doesn't matter where the fault lies. The fact of the matter is we're here to win Super Bowls, and that's not going to happen with these particular players on the field.
All right. So how long you think it takes for a player to actually come into their own?
That depends on the coach. Depends on who's taking his development under their personal instruction. Like, I think that really, it depends on a lot of things. Like, if we're talking about a quarterback, I mean, a quarterback could take, like Doug Peterson said. I take Doug Peterson's word on quarterback development over almost anyone else's other than Andy Reid. They're both quarterback whisperers. Okay. They both agree that 4 to 5 years is roughly the time. Patrick Mahomes, I would like to remind everyone, did not start day one. He sat behind Alex Smith.
Yes, he did.
That being said, it does take time, and it just depends on your position and who you are. Who you are, obviously, what you're playing, and who your immediate person that's responsible for your development is. Clearly, whoever's been developing our offensive line needs to find another day job, in my opinion, because our offensive line is not developed well, other than Anton Harrison, and that could be simply accredited to he's just that fucking good. Or it could be maybe we're learning from our mistakes. It could be a plethora of things. There's no way to know without being in that room every day. But that being said, I'm not saying Walker Little still can't come into his own. I just think it's been made clear that he won't do it here. Whether it's – I don't think it's his fault. I just think it's been made clear that we're not going to give him the ability to do it here. Is basically what I'm getting at. I mean, hell, we just signed Ezra Cleveland. I think Ezra Cleveland's solid. Very solid. I like Ezra Cleveland a lot. We paid Cam way too much. Walker Little didn't have as much success on the right side of the line. I don't think he's going to be able to come into it here. I think we've already missed it.
Okay. That's legit. But
and then you look at it, he comes in sometimes and he's just good enough because he doesn't get the reps.
Okay.
Go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm like, okay, Cam, this is last year on this contract, the contract extension. Yeah.
Please, God, let him go. Please, God.
That's I say that's a given. I really do. I think this is Cam's last year here in Jacksonville. But I do believe Little gonna be all right. He's gonna take Cam's spot. I think they're just trying to slowly transition him in because of the other problems we've had along the offensive line. So they can't really say, okay, this is your spot. Go for it. Do you, right? And, probably in the meetings, he's probably studying all different parts of the offensive line just to make sure he's ready. And it goes back to what both of y'all said. Sometimes that's taxing. You can't do your best because they won't put you at your best, if you understand what I'm saying. So, yeah, but I think they're gonna hold on to Walker Little a little bit and insert him at the end of if not after Cam gets hurt this season, because you know it's going to happen.
Week 2.
next season, I think Walker Little probably will be starting. That's just my take on it, of course. Of course, we got a whole, 16, 17 games to go through. Yeah, to see exactly what happened. But I don't know. I think as training camp pops, don't be surprised if Cam gets traded. Injuries start happening in training camp to certain teams. Yeah, somebody will pick Cam up for a trade. Now, the question, what we asked for, what? I don't know, 5th, 6th round. I'm happy with that. Just if you're going to move it, be done with it. Don't worry there. That's just my take on it, of course.
I think you're absolutely right. I do. I think though, if a 5th or 6th round was all we wanted for him, I think he'd already be out of here personally. I feel like they value him higher than that for whatever their reasons may be, especially based off the money we gave him. I think they value him higher than that.
You just said
that's
why.
where I'm getting
right.
rid of him.
But
if they do that, I would like to say too. You're right.
Yeah,
You're
but
right
if you
about
go back, when they signed Cam wasn't playing that bad. It's just these last couple of seasons where he's been injury prone. And last year really hurt because he got suspended for the PEDs or whatever it is he did, and then he came back and he got hurt, so he was gone again. So it comes down to the continuity of the line, man. And I think having Walker Little in there would probably help with the continuity because he's younger, number one, and he probably won't stay as hurt, as he's been because he's more comfortable out there anyway.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, what you think about it there,
Isaiah.
Well, I was gonna say I just pulled it up because I thought I remember there were some good prospects coming out this year, but also something too is there are a lot of really good tackle prospects coming out this year. Both LSU tackles are really good. I doubt we're able to even get Will Campbell or even sniff at him. But there's the Texas tackle Kevin Banks. This is way too early, but still, there are a decent bit of really good tackle prospects that should be there late first, early second. So you never know. I mean, we could turn around and draft another tackle in the first round next year. I think that the whole conversation, I do like Walker Little, and I do want him to kind of take over that role. But at the same time, if they keep Cam and then end of the season comes around, Walker Little will be going into the final year of his deal next year. Do we roll the dice and try and sign him to an extension, let him play the whole year? Do we go ahead and draft somebody if they're there late first, early second? There's just a lot of stuff there. Or does Javon Foster come in and just, absolutely blow everybody away and take that position? I think we're going to hear a lot about Javon Foster. And honestly, I don't think if Cam gets traded this offseason, Javon Foster is the starter at left tackle.
You think so?
I think so. I think that when pads go on and they start hitting, I think Javon Foster will be the guy, if anybody, to take Cam Robinson's spot. I think we will eat probably half the contract and take a 4th or a 5th for him if it comes down to it. We actually do trade Cam Robinson. Don't trade Cam Little, new kicker of the future. Best ball I've heard in a long time. But
next Scobie.
Hey, please. But yeah, realistically though, I think that Javon Foster would be the reason. I think he's the new guy on the block. He's younger, he's stronger, he weighs more. They're about the same height. I think Walker Little's like 6'7", Javon Foster's like 6'5", 6'6", somewhere around there. I think that once the pads go on, I think he's going to deliver us that nasty in the trenches that we're looking for. Because I know they want to run the ball. Let me see what's all right. But I know they want to run the ball. I know they want to move the ball. If Ezra Cleveland's coming off the line firing and Javon Foster comes off the line firing, and especially, you got to think, who's he going against now in practice? We're going against Walker Little, Jesus Christ. Trayvon Walker, all these Walkers. We got Trayvon Walker, Josh
Mhm.
Allen, Miles
Mhm.
Cole, Eric Armstead rotating in and outside, Mason Smith rotating in and outside, Devin Lloyd coming off the edge, Yasir Abdullah coming off the edge, potentially Ventrell Miller playing outside. It's going to be a lot of big competition in terms of players pushing each other to get better, especially on the edges. Interior is going to be the same thing. I think Cooper Hodges, if he can show out against some of these big guys, Eric Armstead, stuff like that on the interior, he could cement himself as a solid backup. But I mean, Javon Foster, when the pads go on, if he's out there pushing dudes around or holding his own versus Trayvon, because Cam Robinson gets his ass whooped by Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen every day. He sucks against speed rushers. And
yes, he does.
those
That's
guys
his
are
biggest
speed
weakness.
rushers. Those guys are
Yes.
speed rushers that can also fucking knock a mountain down. So,
Yeah.
especially Trayvon. So, I mean, I think that Javon Foster, if Cam Robinson is traded this offseason, it will be because of him. I think when pads go on, I think that Walker Little is probably a better pass blocker than Javon Foster. But I'd probably bet my left arm that Javon Foster is the best run blocking tackle on the team right now, besides potentially Anton Harrison if he's done some more work in the offseason. And I know they want to run the ball. Doug Peterson loves to run the ball as much as he is a quarterback guru and a quarterback. I mean, the year they won the Super Bowl, he had like 3 running backs with like 5 to 800 yards each. He had those guys. Now he's got another. I mean, Keelan Robinson reminds me a little bit of Darren Sproles, like you had mentioned before, Eric. I've done a little more digging on him.
Right.
He's going to be a return guy, but he could also take some reps. He's one of those like small, shifty guys with decent. I just don't think that he played in some big programs. I think if he would have gone to a smaller program, he could have been more of a feature back. But Bigsby's going to have another year, and we can kind of segue into this while we're talking about it. But they brought up Bigsby in the press conferences. Everything out of camp is that Bigsby looks bigger. He looks more explosive. He's saying that he's super excited. This is the first time since high school that he's had the same offense 2 years in a row. So he's actually able to learn and grow in the offense. Press Taylor admitted, like Trevor had mentioned earlier before the show, we were talking about it. Press Taylor admitted that we didn't use him in situations where we probably should have. He had some rough places early that kind of got him benched basically. And then when we did put him in on the goal line, Trevor tried to call his own number, sometimes, and Bigsby had a wide open hole. There's a lot of stuff that I think that is going to factor into who stays, who goes, and who plays and who moves. And I just think that it's interesting to think that Cam Robinson could get moved this offseason. We thought the same thing last year. But I think if that does happen, it's because Javon Foster comes in and just absolutely dominates when they get into pads. And I mean, I wouldn't be upset about that at all. I think the best player should be on the field. And I think if he's not quite as good of a pass blocker, but he's he's a better run blocker, I think you can develop the pass blocking, especially at his size. But I mean, it's going to be interesting. He was an all SEC tackle, all American. He's no slouch. You can't play in that conference and not be good, especially with all the pass rushers and edge rushers and everybody else they've got. So it's an interesting conversation. I could see it. But I could also see Cam staying another year, getting hurt, and somebody coming in, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do we want to get into the press conferences and stuff, or we want to save that for next show?
Yeah, let's get into it now because there's going to be more next week.
That's true.
Yeah, we're still in another week of OTAs, so
yeah. That's true. Yeah. We still got stuff to talk about. We're not quite in the nothing to talk about season, so.
Yeah, I think the press conference has been pretty informative if you're really listening and know a little bit about football. I think Nielsen, I'm hearing the word technique a lot. Technique. And I'm liking that. Because if you remember, a lot of the problems last year was guys not staying in their gaps. They're overrunning balls, especially on misdirections. Oh, man, y'all know how bad I yelled at the screen last year when the team ran misdirection and they go around the corner and it's wide open every time. Like, really? So, yes, technique. Show them, teach them the technique. Especially on a defense like this that's going to be very active, that is very important. I think Nielsen is going to be all right. I'm with Trevor on that. I just can't wait to see them put it together on the field. Moving to this new type of defense, yeah, it's going to be all right. And with the depth that they're building, collecting, that makes it even better. That means you have more fresh bodies out there. So yeah, Doug. When Doug talks, you just have to listen to Doug and be like, okay, because Doug really ain't gonna tell you too much without telling you too much. But Press Taylor, I think he's learning. Whether he's calling the plays this year or not, he's actually learning, because I think I heard him say somewhere where now he's beginning to listen to Trevor when Trevor said, "No, I don't want that play." The type of plays that Trevor likes, that he's good at. I think Press is beginning to learn on that aspect as well. Because why? Because he's learning, the quarterback learning. They both new in their positions basically, so they got to get they continue. What is continuation? They got to be on the same sheet of music. God dang it. I don't know why I can't say what I was thinking. But yeah, they had to be on the same sheet of music to make the offense move, which at times last year, I'm sure we all yelled at the TV, "Why are you calling that play? What the hell are y'all doing?" So yeah, I think this is a big offseason for both of them as well. And I'm done. Go ahead, Trevor.
There's not too much to say. I think the biggest thing, you really just said it. Like, speaking of the press conferences, I guess the general summary, I guess, from what I got from the press conferences that we got this week, obviously it was Doug Peterson and Press Taylor. We actually got a couple one-on-one player interviews too, which I'd like to go back and reference one real quick, because you said it. Word is that Tyson Campbell is bigger. No, it ain't just word. It's facts. That guy is huge. That guy put on some weight, it looks like. I mean, if he didn't put on weight, he just put on muscle and lost something, Dude looks big, and he said he feels good, so that's good. That's what we like to see. He said he feels 100%. But anyway, off topic for a second. I like the fact that Doug openly put a timetable on where he expects Trevor to be, because usually he gives a generalization. Like, he doesn't like to pinpoint anything usually. He likes to beat around the bush a lot. It's basically what it is. And it's hard to be wrong if you're never direct. You can't be wrong if you're never direct. You can always find a door out. Okay.
Right.
I don't like that. Kind of seems like you're ducking the problem instead of fixing the problem. Like, to me, like Eric, you just said it's the perfect thing you said. How many times can I know I can remember millions of just being like, what the hell are you doing? What the fuck was this play call? Like, nowhere in my, like, don't get me wrong. I mean, I guess there's a reason he's a coordinator and I'm not, but like, dude, a high school football coach wouldn't call that shit in this situation.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
What the hell are you doing? I can tell you, I don't watch very many other teams and think that. Any of the successful ones, I'm not watching them saying, what the hell was that? If there was a play that didn't go well for them, it's because the defense made a better one.
That's a good
how
point.
The NFL should be.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't ever be we're getting walked on because our coordinator is too damn dumb to call a play that made sense. Now, you also hit on the fact that, he's learning Trevor. That just also goes back to the point of why I think he's such a fucking bum. This is now you're going into your third fucking year with him, bro. You've got more tape than anyone else in the league on him. I mean, he's your fucking quarterback. How long is it really supposed to take you to at least learn him? I'm not saying that he should be fully developed, because as Doug Peterson also mentioned in the press conference we talked about earlier, that it takes a good 3 to 4 years for the game to come to a quarterback to where they're predicting the game. They're not just keeping up with the game. Okay. Because predicting the game is when you become elite. All right. And that's a good 3 to 4 year window. I mean, I can think back to like even Tom Brady will tell you his first few years were rough. He was still good, but rough. Peyton Manning, rough. Good, but rough. It takes a while to get to that elite status. Okay. That being said, how long is it supposed to take you as a coordinator who your only job is to watch this offense and learn what they're good at? Why the fuck is it taking you into your third year to just now understand that this is what he does well? This is who he is the quarterback we have. Yes, he is going to keep developing, which will only open your playbook more. But the fact that we were still running plays that clearly were not in half of our players' wheelhouse of like, we're really good at this, is a problem. It shouldn't have taken you this long. Now, I don't think we should credit Press Taylor with the fact that he's listening to Trevor. I will say on Press Taylor's behalf, and this is the only defense you'll ever hear from me about fucking Press Taylor. that Trevor Lawrence, from the words coming out, is he's finally taking that step forward as I'm going to say what I want to say. This is my team. This is my offense. If I don't like this play, I'm going to tell you. If I don't like the scheme or if I don't like the personnel, I'm going to tell you. If I'm at the line and I don't feel comfortable with what the defense is giving me, I'm going to change it. That's what we need. But that also goes back to Press Taylor, too. It's your whole fucking job to sit there and watch them and learn what they're good at. Figure it the fuck out, bro.
Yeah. We're
going into the third year, dude. I swear, dude. I can't. I don't know if I can bear any more of the what the fuck are you doing? Like, I mean, it's just, it was intolerable. Like, first of all, I'll keep saying it, and I'm going to say it one more time because it has to be said again. 1st and 10 does not automatically mean run up the gut, Press Taylor. We don't have the interior fucking line for that. We had the worst center in football. The gut is not where to go because it's not solid.
Right.
What the fuck are you doing? Like, I mean, I think those are all things that dial it in. But I will say the overall press conference, I felt good, but I also felt a sense of realism, which is good. I like the realism because I'm tired of the over like joyfulness, the over just sense of, yeah, we're going to be great. Fuck that. I want to know what's really happening. I don't want to know what you think's going to happen. I don't care that you're excited. We're all excited, pal. What's really happening? And this year, it doesn't feel like last year or even the year before that when everybody was like, oh, we're really going to do great things. We're going to do this, and this. It's Trevor stepping into this role. We like that. It's things like we're bringing this guy in to put competition on this guy. Like, say, for instance, we already assumed it, but I like that they're recognizing that Mac Jones is pressing C.J. Beathard for that spot. Obviously, we knew that, but I like that they came out and said it. I like that they're acknowledging competition and encouraging physicality and technique. And that's what I love, that we're finally addressing it, because we've always beat around the bush. We've always hidden it behind these facades of we're confident we're going to be great. Yeah, well, good. Be confident, but also tell me what's going on.
Exactly.
And this year, I feel like they're doing that. Now, Press Taylor, I'm not going to lie, I still feel like he's beating around the bush, but he doesn't get a lot of mic time. So I'll give him a credit there. He doesn't get a lot of interview time. But I can't imagine – I don't see a reason really to interview him that much when most of the offensive scheme is coming from him and Doug combined. Doug can give you most of the answers. That being said, man, I think press conferences all around summarized will just be – I got more joy from the lack of joy in their voice than I would have if they would have come out and just said that everyone's doing fantastic. We're super excited.
They're not overhyping the situation anymore. Yes. Yep. Yes.
And for all you dumbasses out there who want to be like, oh, Mac Jones, QB1, like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, fuck you, literally dying a hole.
Yeah, because that's not happening.
No. Yeah, I mean, I like that they're admitting the different stuff. They're actually talking about it. They're being a little more real this year. I think they've realized that they have kind of scathed the fans a little bit in the past by, talking about how great everything is and how wonderful everything is in La La Land. And they always try to be like, they don't want to tell us that Press Taylor is calling plays, or they didn't want to tell us that, these guys aren't progressing like they should be. One thing I will say about the Press Taylor, and because I always have to kind of defend Press Taylor for whatever reason.
Knew it was coming.
One thing I will say about the Press Taylor Trevor Lawrence situation is, and you cannot deny this, Trevor Lawrence is a lot more of a wild card than we thought he was going to be going into this.
Absolutely.
Because Trevor Lawrence likes to call his own number a lot. And he likes to do a lot of things that are very non-traditional from a quarterback, such as rolling left instinctively when you're a right-handed quarterback. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have learned Trevor Lawrence by now, but I will say that learning Trevor Lawrence is a lot harder of a job than any of us thought it would be going into this, because there's a lot of mannerisms that Trevor Lawrence has shown that, like, he'll be playing great, and then something bad happens, and he just goes full Oonga Boonga caveman, like fucking instinct mode, and then he like peels out of the pocket to the left and like does a spin move, and then he just slings it downfield. Like, I think that Press Taylor may have worded it wrong. He may be completely serious, maybe 100% talking about it. I think that he may think that he finally like fully figured out Trevor. I don't think we're in a situation where Press Taylor's sitting here like, I didn't know shit about him. Now his favorite color is green. I know that now. Like, I'm sure he had a pretty good like sense of what he can do. Like, I'm sure they know what he can do. Everybody knows what Trevor Lawrence can do. I just think that they've also talked about how Trevor has matured a lot mentally, not just in his locker room leadership and his leadership on the field. I think they probably spent some time this offseason, and they're going to continue to, of Trevor, Doug, and Press sitting down and be like, look, dude, you can't fucking do this. You're a great athlete. It worked in year one. It did not work in year two. Trevor called his numbers multiple times whenever that was not the play call, and you can tell it wasn't the play call because no one else knew what the fuck was going on. It didn't work in year two. So I think that they probably had a sit down, come to Jesus moment, and they probably were all like, look, we're not dancing around this anymore. We're all going to be straight with everything. And I think that, they've all talked about it enough and they've all learned each other enough that I think we're going to see less of that from Trevor Lawrence this year. I think they're still going to, of course, let his athleticism take over and let him do his thing whenever it's his time to do so. But I think that overall, one of the things that hurt us, and it hurt the defense too last year, I don't think that from coordinator to head coach to player, I don't think they were in sync. And I don't think that Trevor really wanted to listen in situations because it wasn't talked about much last year, but they said the same exact thing last year that Trevor Lawrence was talking about plays he didn't like, and Trevor Lawrence was saying stuff that he does like. Now, they weren't as adamant about it that was going on because I'm sure it wasn't going on as much. Second year in a scheme, new passing game coordinator. But I just think that from top to bottom on both sides of the football, we are going to be more in sync from player to coach to head coach and our position coaches. And I think that is one thing that we did not have previously. I think that Press Taylor, Doug Peterson, and Trevor Lawrence were functioning semi-independently of each other, where, Trevor thought that, he had the best thing in mind. And, against Tennessee, which this happened last year in the last game of the year, against Tennessee last year, fake handoff. It was supposed to be, but I tucked it and I ran it to the outside, stiff armed a linebacker and got into the end zone. Or, I took it from and jumped from the 2-yard line instead of the 1. But then he does that shit last year, and the handoff to Tank Bigsby, there's a 6-yard wide open hole with nobody standing in it between Tank Bigsby and the end zone. And then Trevor tries to take it himself and gets fell on by Luke Fortner, who got absolutely demolished into the backfield because he tried to get out of the handoff. I think that from top to bottom, we're going to see a lot more in sync team. Now, again, absolutely, we shouldn't run the ball every single 1st and 10. And there's definitely plays where, we definitely could see more dialing it up. But again, as I've talked about before, and as other people have talked about, you can't dial stuff up without time. But no, there's definitely play calls that are going to be better. I think there's definitely stuff where Doug's going to take more ownership and leadership. And I think that Doug Peterson's going to finally kind of like be in the role of, okay, I'm the head coach. I can veto this, or I can call this, or I can do that. But I think that personally, in his 3rd year / now his 4th year, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be a lot more trusting of the coaching staff. I think the coaching staff is going to be a lot more trusting of Trevor Lawrence. And I think them all being on the same page will definitely help. But definitely, I hope that they have all grown physically and mentally from this. Well, I guess coaches physically, it doesn't really matter to me, but mentally, I hope they have all grown. But yeah, I just think it's kind of a weird conversation just because of the fact of, you never really know what was called, what went on, who changed at the line of scrimmage, who did this, who did that, who ran the wrong things. Besides Calvin Ridley, you basically knew if he was on the field, the wrong route was getting run. But besides that, yeah, I mean, I just think there's a lot more that goes into it. But of course, I see both sides of the conversation. I see the Press Taylor haters. I see the Press Taylor not necessarily supporters, but not necessarily defenders, but just from a football perspective, talking about a coach and his position versus who we have in our personnel and who Trevor Lawrence is as a player and a person. But it's a tough call, and we'll see this season kind of what's really going on, who's who and what's what. That's kind of my take on the whole thing. Ryan Nielsen, though, dude, every time he touches the podium, talks in the mic, love Ryan Nielsen. Have not heard a single thing out of Ryan Nielsen's mouth that I do not like. Love the technique stuff. Love that he says we're going to play fast and physical. We're downhill first. I cannot wait for more press conferences from Ryan Nielsen and that glorious mustache of his.
Sound like you got a man crush going on, man. Come on now.
I like a hard-nosed defensive coordinator, all right? The mustache, you know. I'm a beard guy, you know. I got love for my follicle brothers with the facial hair. So you know, I think that's probably a good place to wrap it up, though, unless you have something to add on to that, Eric, since being Trevor.
Yeah, one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's like this, man. The last 2 years, 9-8. As Trevor has said, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. We know we can do better. We have done better a while ago, but we still have. So now we brought in the personnel where we can and know they should do better. So yeah, 9-8 is not going to be acceptable at all. Anything below a divisional round playoff game is not going to be acceptable. Now I know, say let's go to the Super Bowl, but we have to be realistic. A lot of stuff got to fall right for us to make it the Super Bowl this year.
Oh yeah,
be honest with you. But I do see at least the divisional round of the playoffs if they play like we know they can. And I'm done.
Conference game or bust.
Okay. Okay.
All right, boys. Well, with that, I think we've got a good show here. As always, shout out Worm. I know you're the only one besides us that'll be here at this time. And if somebody else is there, comment on the video. Let us know that you're still here.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on again, guys, as always. And another great show. You know, go Jags, baby.
Duval!
There it is. All right.